So let's talk about contour rig. I'm going to do a quick run through into the tool now, just so we know how to create a control, how to move things around, how to adjust the camera and things like that. But throughout the course, of course, then we will go deep into all the modules on how to create a biped character. So first thing you need to do is right click in your skeletal mesh, and there will be this option contour rig. If you don't have this option available, you probably need to go into edit plugins and then contour rig, and then you need to turn contour rig on. So where is it? Here. Yeah, so if you double click on that, basically will come with the whole hierarchy of the joints, and that's it. That's what you have for now in the forward. So let's just show how we can quickly create a root control, for example. So if you're right clicking here, new, and then you create a new bone, which is kind of a fake bone, I would say. You can create a control, and you can create a new, which is the idea of like an empty group, basically. So you can just create a control, like new control, and a new control will be created. But what I've been using the most is if you select a joint and you want to create a control for this joint specifically. So then you can do this in multiple joints, for example. So you can right click new, add controls for selected, and that will give you already the correct location. And yeah, it because they were part of the same chain, you're also creating format of a chain. So how to edit the controls is, if you go here, if you click on the control and you go on this side, you have this shape editor, so you can change the shapes. So you can do box, for example. So let's select all of them together, box, and then here you can change the scale. If you click on this lock, you can change the scale of the three things at the same time, so you don't need to keep typing. And then, yeah, you can also offset. For example, if you click one, you offset a little bit. So the root would still be in the right place, but the visualization of the controller will be slightly offset. Same for rotations. Yeah, you can just slightly rotate, but again, the root of the controller will stay in the same place here. We can also change the colors. Oh, let's change to one that we can actually see the difference. Yeah, cool. So yeah, here you can make it visible or not. There are different types of controllers. So the basic that we use is Euler transform, which is translate, rotate, and scale. But there is also float. For example, if you want to create, we'll go through these examples, but if you want to create one control that goes from 0 to 1, for example, and you also creates this line as a reference. So if I go here, minimum, max, and then you have a line that is created here. Yeah, so you can do things like this, which we will have an example later on the rig. Yeah, you can also just select, for example, just position, so you cannot rotate or scale, or scale, so you can't translate or rotate, or rotator, so yeah, you got it. But yeah, mainly we're going to be use Euler transform. So if you go compile, we always kind of reset to the default initial pose of everything. So if we're playing around and you're changing stuff and you're like, oh, no, I want to actually go back to how it should be. So if you go back to compile, then it goes back to the default pose. So this is the initial transform position. This is the current, so they're both on like 0 positions, let's say. There is an offset, which is if I reset, it will go back to 0 in the world position. Again, if I compile, that should, oops, yeah, that didn't change. But that's a good example, actually. Let's say if I, for some reason, changed some of the transforms here and I want to go back and put it back to where it was close to the joint. So if I just move it slightly close to where it was, and then if I right click here, I have this option, which is set offset transform from closest bone. So there you go. Then it goes back to snap to the bone that I wanted. Yeah, I also can, let's say I decide that I want this controller to be here now. So I can also right click and say set offset transform from current. So here you see that is 2.7 in the X location axis. So if I click on this will be zeroed, but now this will be added to the offset. So if I compile, this is my new default pose now. I think that's mainly it about controls. I will just create a new, so we have as an example. So I can add a new above selected, and that was just my, let's say, empty group. Here are some visualizations as well, so you can display those and then you can see them where the axis is. Let me just remove this offset here, so they're all centralized. Yeah, so I can see where the location of these is represented by this axis here. One thing that I've noticed also that sometimes a bit of a problem if you're depending on the scale of your character, you can change this field of view. So if I change it to 90, for example, if my character is too big, let's say, so I'll be better with a field of view that is a bit bigger. If my character is too small, which is the case here, I'll be better into field of view that is a bit closer to it. So that makes things a bit easier. And another thing I do is that I don't like snapping tools. So these will snap rotations by 5 degrees. This will snap scales by 0.25. So I like these, for example, if I click here and I want to rotate, it will go every 5. I personally prefer these things to be deactivated, so I have full control of the movements I want to have. Here's the same thing of like showing bones, and it's the same type of menu you would have in the skeletal mesh. And I think that's it for now. One last thing that I found very helpful is, let's say I want to move a joint. I just want to make sure, for example, spine 6 is this joint, but what is actually skinny to it? So if you right click here and go control bone transform, you can then grab this bone and actually move and then understand a bit better of like, okay, this is what should be happening when I use this joint. Again, this is just a visualization. It is not going to change anything. If I press compile, it should be back to normal. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of the first introduction. And let's start rigging in the next video.